Attack on Titan boasts a roster of incredibly layered characters. However, mangaka Isayama himself has a preference for one particular character who enjoys or rather suffers from his role as a hero as well as an antagonist. In many cases, he has been considered to represent the other side of Eren's coin, and Eren himself pointed out how the both of them were one and the same. Reiner Braun is introduced to us as a dependable and reliable figure with the members of the 104th Cadet Corps respecting him. With time, we learned that he was the one who broke down the gate of Wall Maria, allowing the pure Titans to infiltrate the district and cause the death of Carla Jaeger. While we could not wrap our heads around why Reiner played such a heinous double game, he himself was going through something far worse. Exposure to state-sanctioned propaganda against his own kind, desire for survival in a world that saw him as a devil, hopes to reunite his family, and a poor sense of self pushed Reiner to want to become the hero his country and mother needed him to be. Yet whatever he learned about the surviving populace within the walls went against whatever he learned about them from his superiors in Marley. With severe guilt consuming him as a result of the suffering he caused people in Paradis, Reiner began to deal with his problems by cushioning himself with a new personality. In today's video, we will be diving into the details of Reiner's unraveling state of mind with the progression of this story. Who is Reiner Braun? Where did he grow up? As an Eldian and a subject of Ymir, Reiner Braun grew up in Marley's Liberio internment zone. While his mother was Eldian, his father was Marleyan, which was illegal and a taboo in the society they lived in. As a result, he was forbidden from seeing his father. According to the laws, Reiner's father would be hung by the Marleyan government if they found out about his involvement with Reiner's mother, Karina. To save himself, he estranged both Reiner and his mother. Meanwhile, Reiner wished to reunite with his father and bring their family together. He enrolled in Marley's warrior program to someday attain the status of becoming an honorary Marleyan alongside his mother, who supported his decision despite knowing that Reiner would fall victim to the curse of Ymir and fail at living beyond 13 years after inheriting one of the 9 Titans. Unfortunately for them, his father wanted nothing to do with Reiner and saw him and Karina as nothing more than Eldian devils. As a person, Reiner was quiet, meek, and even weak-willed. His personality was also tainted with his strong beliefs in Marleyan propaganda, which painted Eldians and those on Paradise Islands as devils. He never thought beyond the state-sanctioned brainwashing he received from his mother and superiors. Instead, Reiner believed that exterminating the island devils would lead to him becoming a hero. He desired, or rather craved, respect from others. From the very beginning, he showed signs of having a poor sense of self or identity. When did Reiner become a warrior? How did it change his life? Reiner enrolled in a warrior candidate program at the tender age of 10. For the next 2 years, Reiner struggled with his training and was not as competent in comparison to his peers such as Peak, Annie, Berthold, Marcel, and Porco. In contrast to him, Marcel, who eventually inherited the Jaw Titan, was a lot more respected and even dependable. That is everything Reiner wished to be, but was not. In Reiner's defense, his redeeming qualities were his dedication and loyalty. After 2 years, Reiner got appointed as the Armored Titan, which was a bit shocking considering his poor performance during the program. Nevertheless, it increased Reiner's self-confidence and made him and his mother honorary Marleyans. During the parade, he was respected for finally becoming a warrior, but Reiner's goal at this point was to gain his father's approval and get him to reunite with his family. Unfortunately, his father rejected him once again before running away. This hindered Reiner's self-image, and any progress he had made after becoming a warrior began to dwindle after the altercation. Soon after, he was picked to be a part of the Paradise Island operation with Annie, Berthold, and Marcel as Marley wanted to retake the founding Titan from Paradis. Reiner had an undying loyalty for his country and was more than ready to become the hero after bringing down the island devils. In essence, Reiner is always a slave to whatever his current goals and ideals are. When he wished to reunite with his father because his mother told him that being an honorary Marleyan would lead him to that, Reiner put himself through hell to become a warrior. Even when he was not cut out for the job, after getting turned down and cut off by his father, Reiner stuck to the brainwashing he was subjected to that taught him how everyone in Paradis deserved to die due to the sins of their ancestors and because they were devils. Although most other Eldians and Marleyans believed in the same, Reiner was comparatively more staunch with his beliefs, to the point that he would rather sacrifice himself if it meant attaining his goal of killing those in Paradis. He was also desperate to become a hero, not just for the sake of the Eldians and Marley and his mother, but also for himself. Due to his poor self-image, he was obsessed with gaining people's approval as a warrior. Like Eren, Reiner's goal has always been to constantly move forward. The only difference is in how Reiner does not say that verbatim and instead allows his miscalculated actions to speak for itself. In terms of personality, Reiner is not cut out to be a child warrior, not that any child is, but Reiner is the worst when it comes to this. The story paints Reiner and his unraveling mind under the spotlight to show the horrors of war and the misfortune of being a war victim. What happened to Reiner and his personality when his squad landed on Paradis? Becoming the Armored Titan had helped Reiner gain a better self-identity as it brought him closer to his goal of becoming a hero. Despite his incompetence in comparison to his peers, Reiner has always been diligent and hardworking. He believed that his positive traits and hard work resulted in him being able to become a warrior, but that was not the truth. While outside the walls, Marcel revealed the reality behind Reiner's appointment as a Titan during an argument. Marcel's younger brother Porco was supposed to be the Armored Titan, as the military felt that he was much more qualified for the spot than Reiner. In fact, Reiner was never supposed to inherit a Titan and become an honorary Marleyan, but Marcel did not want his brother to become a Titan shifter and fall to the curse of Ymir. He wanted Porco to live a long life and hence convinced the military to swap Porco out for Reiner, making the latter a scapegoat. It is just that becoming the scapegoat worked out in Reiner's favor as it took him closer to his goal. What worked against him was hearing the revelation straight from Marcel's mouth, which affirmed that Reiner was still not the capable warrior he intended to become, and it hindered his already negative self-image. An altercation between the two led to Reiner being caught off guard by a pure Titan nearby. It almost grabbed Reiner to eat him, but being the leader of the operation, Marcel stepped in to protect Reiner and knocked him away from the Titan's line of attack. What happened next was that it caught Marcel instead and consumed him. This was not as minimal as a normal human soldier getting eaten up, because firstly, Marcel was their leader and a big brother figure for the team. Secondly, he possessed a Titan shifter which now belonged to a whole different person whose affiliations were unknown to everyone. We know that it was a Marleyan girl named Ymir, but back then the members of the operation did not know a single thing about it. For them, a shifter that should be with Marley had fallen into the hands of a stranger who could do anything with it. Naturally, Reiner blamed himself for Marcel's death, but that was not where it ended. Annie blamed him too, and she went on to beat him up, with Reiner not being able to do anything to defend against her attacks for the longest time. While Annie wanted to go back to Marley, especially because she had made a promise to return to her father, Reiner was hell-bent on not going back. He wanted to breach the walls and return only after getting the founding Titan, which was kind of selfish of him, as his primary reason to do so was his desire to become a heroic figure and not getting in trouble for the jeopardized mission. However, it also made sense from his point of view, as he felt guilty for Marcel's death. To compensate for Marcel's death and the absence of a leader, Reiner gradually began to act more like him. He became more assertive and decisive, displaying leadership qualities. Despite forcing his reluctant teammates into heading straight towards the lion's den, Reiner also cared for the two of them. All in all, Reiner already had a negative self-image, but the revelation about Porco being picked to become the Armored Titan and Marcel's death made matters worse, which led to Reiner feeling that he should have died instead of Marcel. After reaching Paradis, he began to mask his meeker and quieter personality and acted as a big brother to the members of the Survey Corps from his year of cadets. In a way, he acted dutiful like Marcel and pretended to be an honorable soldier who cared about those younger than him. The pretense intensified and eventually began to alter his personality, which Berthold was quick to catch on. Eventually, Reiner began to believe in the lies he was telling himself and was quick to almost sacrifice himself to protect those he intended to kill. In Paradis, Reiner, Berthold, and Annie became part of the Survey Corps, essentially as spies. While Annie maintained her distance from everyone and Berthold was cordial but cold, Reiner meshed in with the other trainees and acted as everyone's brother. He grew to become genuinely close to many such as Eren, Mikasa, Armin, Jean, Connie, and Sasha. He even advised Eren on how to fight, and Eren grew to respect him a great deal. Annie was quick to observe Reiner's strange behavior and had to often remind him that he was not a soldier but rather a warrior. During one of the earlier battles in Season 1, Reiner sacrificed Marco after the latter overheard Reiner and Berthold talking about their titans. However, while Marco was getting eaten, Reiner began to act out and ask Annie and Berthold why Marco was getting eaten. This signified a split that Reiner had developed in his personality. While part of him was the warrior from Marley who wanted to retake the attack titan and the coordinate, the other part was a rightful soldier from the island itself who did not know the truth about the outside world, fought titans for humanity and wanted to protect his crewmates in the Survey Corps. Things intensified during the battle at Utgard Castle in the second season when Reiner allowed a pure Titan to munch on his arm while trying to save Connie. He then picked the Titan up with his strength and tried to drop him out the window. By now, the viewers, readers, and characters knew that Annie was the female Titan, and they were trying to figure out the identities of the armored and colossal Titans. However, such self-sacrificial actions from Reiner made him one of the least susceptible candidates. Berthold was the only one who continued to stay concerned, as he could see the split in Reiner's personality, which was not just a result of him trying to incorporate Marcel's traits, but also a result of the guilt he acquired from slaughtering innocent people in Paradise Island. To save himself the trouble of having to deal with the crimes he had committed, Reiner developed his split personality, which temporarily took his mind off reality and allowed him to feel like his peers. While the average person within the walls did not have the ideal life due to being forced into a state of survival at all times, they saw themselves as rightful victims to the predators outside the walls. For them, it was a situation where their external life was horrible, but mentally they were not in a constant state of war. For Reiner, it was different. He was at war with Paradis as well as the Titans, but more so that he was at war with himself. This is why playing soldier brought him more mental peace than playing warrior, even when the former had high-risk lives. Another interesting observation would be how Berthold and Annie experienced their fair share of guilt as well, especially with every Marleyan being told that the people of Paradis were devils. After reaching the island and living alongside them, they realized that the people were just like your average person and not a group of demonic entities. This is why Annie apologized to Marco's corpse for her actions, and why Berthold asserted that he was doing what he was because he had no other choice. But the two of them were able to acknowledge the hypocrisy in the system. On the contrary, Reiner was always gullible, super loyal to his country, and heavily believed in the propaganda he grew up hearing. Instead of noticing and acknowledging that what he had learned was not the truth and that he had to go on with his mission irrespective of that, Reiner created a personality that would make him feel good about himself and make him forget about his worries as a warrior from Marley. He became the hero he wanted to be in Paradis itself by developing this personality, which ceased to be a false one at some point because Reiner truly began to believe in his life as a soldier in the Survey Corps. It became more evident after he and Berthold captured Eren and Ymir following their identity reveals, where Eren witnessed Reiner go through an episode where he acted like a soldier who wanted to get promoted but then got back on track after Berthold reminded him that he was a warrior. The entire ordeal was not just insane for Reiner, who was going through the problem, and his partner Berthold, but also Ymir and Eren, who were witnessing something unexpected. How did Reiner become the catalyst for AOT's events? The events of Attack on Titan kicked off after Berthold and Reiner breached the walls. While the Colossal Titan broke the 50-meter outer wall of Wall Maria, Reiner broke the gate and created a passage for the Pure Titans outside to enter Shiganshina. This led Dina Fritz's Smiling Titan to the Jaeger household, while the house itself got crushed with Carla Jaeger underneath as one of the rubble created from Reiner's kick crashed into Eren's house. The ordeal came to an end with the Smiling Titan eating Eren's mother in front of his eyes, which led Eren down to a path of vengeance and developed his insatiable desire for freedom and violence. Had Reiner gone back to Marley after Marcel's death, Paradis would have never gotten attacked and the story of Attack on Titan as we know it would have never begun. But Reiner's identity issues and desire to prove himself led to him forcing Annie and Berthold to continue with the mission. This continuation subsequently led to the fall of Shiganshina and the radicalization of Eren. As Wall Maria fell and the island's century of peace came to an end, Grisha Jaeger was forced to claim the founding Titan by killing most of the Rise family. With this, he passed down his Titans and the key to his basement, which held the truth of the world, to Eren. With time, Eren being a Titan was revealed and he eventually became a key figure in the Survey Corps, as they had hope for humanity for the very first time. Had Eren never become a Titan, the Survey Corps would not have gotten as far as they did. This is because of the knowledge of having a Titan among them, and the possibility of learning the truth from the basement gave them hope. For the sake of this hope, they were willing to take higher risks and chances, to the point that Erwin Smith never shied away from sacrificing soldiers, and Levi went ahead with executing Erwin's plans of madness. They began to believe that every single action and sacrifice was being done for the advancement of humanity, which propelled the story forward. After the identities of the Armored and the Colossal Titan are revealed, Reiner became Eren's primary antagonist. While Eren held the offensive Attack Titan, Reiner Reiner held the defensive armored titan, both would go very far to attain their goals, not necessarily out of personal desire and pleasure, but because they had no other choice. Reiner believed that killing the island devils would make him a hero because he was saving the world. Eren believed that by killing all titans and his enemies, he would also be saving the world from a life where they lived like cattle waiting to be slaughtered. When Eren caused the rumbling, he did it because he had witnessed multiple realities using the power of the founding and the attack titans and his access to the paths. After witnessing them, he learned that the only reality where his friends and loved ones lived was the one where he caused the rumbling. In short, he went on to commit grave sins to protect those he cared about. Similarly, Reiner became a warrior because his mother wanted him to become one. He wanted to become an honorary Marleyan and reunite his family for the sake of his mother. In Liberio, a depressed Reiner who had given up on life rose up to fight Eren after Gabi and Falco screamed for his assistance. He did not do it for the sake of fighting Eren, but for Gabi and Falco. The dialogue between Eren and Reiner before Eren's attack on Liberio put everything into perspective when Eren mentioned how they were one and the same because Reiner committed sins that made him guilty because he had no other choice while Eren was about to do the same. The first season of the show itself has the illustration where Eren stands near Wall Maria with a colossal titan towering over him. On the flip side, the illustration for the fourth season puts Reiner in Eren's position with the attack titan towering over him in Liberio. In a way, Reiner is painted as the protagonist of that arc, with Eren being his antagonist. With the progress of the story, it is later revealed that Eren is kind of the mastermind behind almost every event, but it is not like he individually manipulated every single person into partaking into their respective actions. He manipulated the previous inheritors of the attack titan and the memories of his friends, but he never specifically manipulated Reiner and his actions. Reiner attacked Wall Maria not because Eren made him do it, but because Reiner wanted to do it and become the hero. Reiner's individual actions were what allowed Eren's manipulations to fetch their intended results. What happened to Reiner during the time skip? Why was he broken in the aftermath? Reiner returned to Marley after he was saved by Pic's Card Titan following his defeat in the hands of the Survey Corps. He did not go back to Paradis for the next 4 years and spent time with the Eldians in the internment zone. He developed post-traumatic stress disorder during this time and would often wake up after experiencing nightmares that recollected events from Paradis, such as the time when Mikasa stepped inside his mouth and shoved a thunder spear down the armor titan's throat. He stopped struggling with his split personality because he did not have to play soldier anymore. However, he developed severe depression, which was visualized by his weight loss and unkempt beard growth. During a meal, he was asked by his family members and Gabi to recount the events from Paradis, where the devils dwell. He had to talk about how devilish the people were, and he did not refer to them as such. However, his descriptions proved them to be just like any other human, as he described Sasha breaking the rules to eat a potato and offering less than half of it to Shadis, while asserting that she has given him half of it. He spoke about Jean, Marco, and Connie, and how Eren was reckless and charged into everything, while Mikasa and Armin were stupid enough to go after him. This created a tense atmosphere as everyone was shocked to hear the things that went against the years of knowledge their country had rammed into them. While in Paradis, Reiner lost several times as the Armored Titan. He lost the 1 versus 1 against Eren when Eren used the tricks he learned from Annie's martial arts to defeat Reiner. He lost around 3 to 4 times during the return to Shiganshina arc, where he was almost taken out by Levi once more by Eren, and 2 times more by the Survey Corps. His performance against the Mid-East Allied forces was also not the best, as it ended with him being rendered unconscious, which got him mocked as Porco berated him for underperforming at Fort Slava. Reiner's life as an Eldian in Marley, as a warrior candidate and a warrior, has historically been harsh and a tough thing for him to deal with. He had to imitate someone else to be able to keep up. However, he most probably had the happiest time of his life in Paradis with the friends he made in the Survey Corps. No one judged him for his lineage and ethnicity. No one judged him for not being good enough. He was respected and loved as a big brother, which is what he always wanted. Yet he got it from the people he was meant to kill. He took way too many innocent lives and betrayed the people who cared about him for the system that used him as a scapegoat. His life as an honorary Marleyan was also in jeopardy due to Marley's waning power, which signaled disaster disaster for the Eldians in Liberio because they had worse lives in the countries outside Marley than they did in their internment zone, which was saying something. Reiner's experiences, accumulated guilt, and poor self-image made him severely suicidal to the point that he had once held a gun to his mouth after recalling his life events during the first year he spent in Paradis as the Armored Titan. He later decided to preserve his life not for his own sake but for Falco, because like Reiner, Falco was desperate to become the Armored Titan despite not being the most competent candidate. Unlike Reiner, however, Falco wanted to become the Armored Titan because he was in love with Gabby, who was more likely to become the Armored Titan, and Falco did not want her to live a short life. After Reiner meets Eren beneath the stage set up by Willy Tiber, he breaks down as Eren talks about them being the same. While Eren claims that he now understands why Reiner had to do what he did and why he had no other choice, Reiner owns up to his mistakes and blames himself for everything Eren and the others went through. While Eren is right because Reiner really did not have a choice due to forced propaganda and his horrible life as an Eldian, Reiner hates himself anyway, and at this point mentally acknowledges that the people on the island were nothing like the devils they were supposed to be. He blames himself for their deaths and for Carla's demise. For this, he claims that he is the one who should have died and begs Eren to kill him so that he can vanish. After Eren transforms, so does Reiner as he uses his Titan to protect Falco. However, like Ymir Fritz from 2,000 years ago, he does not regenerate after getting injured because he does not have the desire to continue living. Later, when Gabby and Falco's screams are heard by him in his semi-unconscious state, Reiner is bothered about not being allowed to die in peace, which forces him to step up and do another incomplete transformation to save Poco Galliard from Eren. How did Reiner finally come to accept his place in the world? After playing two sides and then trying to end himself after not being able to keep up with his life and the guilt from his actions, Reiner eventually started to turn around. In a way, his failed suicide attempt and vegetative cocoon state after saving Falco gave him some strength to continue pushing, which is why he proposed that Marley should attack Paradis immediately instead of waiting for 6 months. After Eren began the rumbling and several members from the warrior program allied with the survey course, Reiner confessed to Jean and the others how he was the one who ordered Marco's death. Not only did he do it to defend Annie, but this was also the first time he was confessing his guilt and crimes to the people he was indoctrinated to hate. This is a moment where his patriotism for Marley has visibly taken a backseat, and Reiner is openly able to accept his mistakes because Marco was indeed innocent and also an extremely kind person. Having desired a heroic status and everyone's admiration forever, Reiner was previously not the type of person who would admit his follies. He either covered for them by pretending to be a leader like Marcel or by tapping into his soldier persona. His confession, however, was monumental as it showed that Reiner did not care about being a false hero anymore. He knew that Jean would not forgive him, but he was willing to accept the resentment. During a fight against the Jaegerists, Reiner volunteers to fight alongside Annie as he does not want the others to be in a situation to kill anyone. He knows the weight of the guilt that comes with doing so, especially when they are people you have allied with in the past, because he had already gone down this pit, and so has Annie. He wants to prevent those who have not, such as Falco and Gabby, from falling into the same pit of taking lives. Before he heads off to face Eren's founding Titan, he also apologizes to Annie for forcing her and Berthold to go ahead with a Paradis Island operation. He even takes the blame for Annie and Berthold not being able to return home to their families. This signifies that he has become open to seeing the problem instead of trying to deviate from it. He also claims that he will never forgive himself for the things he put Connie, Jean, and the others through, but at this point Connie is able to see Reiner's side as he himself has to kill the Jaegerists because he has no choice, even though the Jaegerists were formerly his allies. What makes Reiner Braun one of the last heroes from Attack on Titan? Reiner's apologies led him to a better state, as during the final battle, Jean is often willing to cover for him and he gets to fight alongside his former friends from the Island of Devils as equals. Following Eren's death, he gets visions of the conversation Eren had with him in the Paths, which he had wiped out, and mourns his death. 3 years later, he is revealed to have become a peace ambassador alongside those he fought with during the final battle. He is also seen acting more normal as he simps for Historia by smelling her handwritten letter and gets made fun of by Jean. Reiner retorts to his comments by making a joke out of Jean's appearance, who had been made the scapegoat for horse-faced jokes since he was a trainee. The reason why this banter is important is that it brings back two comical gags Reiner has directly and indirectly been a part of during his happier times in the survey course. Yes, he has become a hero after playing a role in saving the world from being wiped out by the rumbling, but his partaking in the same jokes as before with the same people shows that he has managed managed to mentally and emotionally reunite with the friends he had made in Paradise but could never acknowledge in the past. In the end, Reiner managed to attain his superficial goal, but in the process he acquired the self-acceptance he needed and the connections he wished to restore. Marvelous verdict. Reiner's arc makes us experience a perilous journey as it is so hard to understand him at first. His big brother persona makes it easy to trust him, but the betrayal makes it easier to hate him. When we later learn what he is going through and the complicated nature of the world he lives in, we can't help but feel for him because the story puts a heavy focus on the horrors of war. Reiner's crumbling mind makes him the person who embodies this theme the best as a child soldier turned war victim. And with this, we've come to the end of our video. What do you think of Reiner Braun? Did you enjoy this video? If yes, then don't forget to like and comment on this video. Till then, goodbye and have a nice one.